Good morning, everyone. My name's Hank Setala,
And I am Casey MacBride.
and we're here with another fun episode of Stir Crazy Shamans. Welcome again, everyone. In these Friday episodes, we don't have any particular plan. We're just coming on to create possibility with our little slogan, creating change through sacred play. I think that's our slogan, right? Something
Is
like
it?
that.
Sure, why not? That sounds like a
Uh,
good slogan.
I have it on the website, if you want to catch all of our content, you can go to stircrazyshamans.com. It has links to all where you can pick up the podcast episodes, all that good stuff. Yeah, changing the world through sacred play is the tagline that we chose
Well, that's
last
great.
year. Yeah, and we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary of doing these, so it's really a great time to check us out and anything feel light of what you want to bring to the table today. We were just talking about geopathic stress on my last stream, like how nature spots can have geopathic stress from ley lines and different things going on with the water and all that. So that could be a cool continuation of the energy or anything else. I know you had a cool experience with some ice exposure just
Oh
yesterday.
yeah, so that was wonderful. So this was such a cool synchronistic connection that I made. One of my things that I have been working to manifest, of course, is growing my YouTube channel, Shamans Way. And it's going really well for as long as I've had the channel. I have a good number of subscribers coming in, but I decided, if I could get on one of these bigger YouTubers' channels, one of these people that do spirituality, health, and wellness type stuff, who have 100,000 plus subscribers, that could really, take me from growing by just 100 or so a month, every other month, to like thousands, in a short period of time. So one of the people I reached out to, we talked about it on the last stream, was this guy called the Certified Health Nut. And I've been reaching out to all these people. He reached back, and it was like, I woke up in the morning and I saw like 5 texts from him on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do a live stream right now?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll hop on, whatever." So I just hopped on, did a little healing demonstration, talked about shamanism. And one of the people that was watching, I noticed, he asked me, was like, "Hey, comment below where you're tuning in from." And one of the people said Westlake, Ohio. And I noticed that, well, of course, because it's near where I live and I know that city, but I noticed that out of all the comments. And then after the stream, I got a friend request from that guy, and he messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I really dig what you were doing. I'm in the, same area as you," because I mentioned I was in Rocky River on the stream, and we just got to talking a little bit. And he, like I did, started his own sort of health and wellness business during the lockdown. But they teach people, they do mindset coaching. And by the way, their business is called the Positive Pineapple, which is so great. And for him, it was like doing breath work and training with this like mindset coaching that they do. Unlocked his pineal gland, which, like, the pineapple is a symbol for the pineal gland. So the positive pineapple is their business name. But anyway, so we got to talking and just sharing some ideas and things, and they seem like really great people. Anthony and his wife Mary, and we decided we wanted to get together and hang out. So we planned the day. And yesterday I went over to their place and we just talked all kinds of possibility. It was so cool to connect to them. They're such beautiful people. And, they want to change the world and help to wake people up and help people to live more free, open lives full of more joy and everything. And it's really beautiful. But then we went and we were talking in their kitchen for a while, and that was really nice. And then he said we were going to do some breath work. So I go in his garage, and he's got this really cool setup, like all these cool lights and everything, and like workout equipment, but then all these yoga mats laid out. And we sat and did breath work for, I don't know, maybe like half an hour or something. And then he's got this, he calls it the portal. And it is basically a modified I think like one of those ice chests or like freezers, like a standalone freezer where it's just a big chest that all you put in is like frozen goods. It was one of those, but then filled with water and set to 32 degrees. So it's literally as cold as water can get. And the only reason it's not a solid frozen chunk of water is they keep breaking it up and like cycling it so it doesn't freeze over, but there's chunks of ice on it and everything. Like literally colder than if you were to hop in a frozen lake. It's as cold as water can possibly get. And I hopped in there and I stayed in for 3 minutes. And it was such an incredible experience. I mean, you talk about things that will bring you right here to the here and now. And like you're not going anywhere. You're not thinking about the past or the future. Like your mind is right here, and all you're doing is just focusing and controlling your breath. And because the thing is, when you hop in water that cold, you have this instinctive response to like gasp, and your body kind of goes into shock a little bit. So you control that. And the thing is, like, you allow yourself to take the big inhale like your body wants, but then you slow down the exhale. And then eventually you sink into it, your breathing slows down. And it's really fascinating because for me, I after the initial shock and when I kind of really sunk into it, I didn't perceive it as being cold, as interesting as that sounds. There was pain, like particularly in my toes. It was the one area I really noticed it, is there was pain in my toes, but I didn't feel cold. There were tingling sensations and all of that, but I didn't identify it in my mind as being really cold. And it just takes you to this whole different space. And then we got out and we're doing all kinds of like moving, like energy throws and all this cool stuff. But it was just such a cool experience and such a wonderful connection with them. And I see a lot of really fun potential in collaborating with them on things. And so, yeah, shout out to Anthony and Mary at the Positive Pineapple. They are absolutely wonderful, wonderful people. And I look forward to hanging out with them and creating all kinds of possibility.
And I did post it in the comments, though, if you're watching from like my profile or Casey's profile. I don't believe that the comments post there or the group. So if you check out the YouTube channel, the comments there. And I did put it up on the screen. It's the hyphen positive hyphen pineapple. So facebook.com, the hyphen positive hyphen pineapple hyphen, for those that are listening on the podcast, 1172659667727793. and I'll update the description of the video and on the podcast, so like you have that link if you want to check them out. Even though they're mostly, do they offer anything virtually too?
They well, I don't know all of what they offer, but I do. Let me try. I just noticed my light's a little. That's a little better. So I don't know all of what they offer virtually, but he was telling me how they go on and they do like live distance breathwork sessions and things like that. So I know they have at least some virtual offerings for sure. Yeah, I know they're still growing, and I think they're still kind of like figuring out all of what they want to offer and how they want to offer things. But yeah, so I know definitely if you check them out, they do live streams and like they'll do free stuff, and I think they do some paid stuff as well. So we weren't streaming when the southern part happened, but like in the middle of winter, Casey messages me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to go to the lake and like get in the lake when it was like freezing temperatures outside?" And I was like, "No, I don't." But so he got one of our other friends to go with him, and there's a picture of him like coming out of the lake, just like, like. But I'm curious, like, because the lake obviously wasn't as cold as this ice chest. What was the difference in the experience? Was it more potent in the chest, or because it was in nature, was the lake more potent? And what was your motivation to even do this? Because I think you started with a particular thing in mind, with starting to do this cold exposure for a particular spiritual effect. Yeah. So, well, in terms of what was more potent, it's interesting because, one of the things that was different was I kept my hands out of the water when I went in their bath, because just vascularly our hands and our feet are different than. Oh, and Anthony's commenting. He says, "Thank you, Casey. What a wonderful experience." Thank you, Hank. Thanks, Anthony. I'm glad you. I had a feeling you were watching too. I intuited that. I had a feeling you were tuned in. So that's great. Beautiful. So when I was in their ice bath, I had my hands out, and so and the reason I mentioned that is when I was in the lake, that was something I was particularly worried about. Is my hands started to go really painful and numb because I had my hands under the water when I was in the lake. And I think I stayed in the lake longer. I think I was in the lake for like 5 minutes. It wasn't as cold, but I was in there longer. And also stepping out of the lake, it was like 30 degrees outside. So you went from the lake to 30 degrees wind whipping on the shore of the beach. Whereas hopping out of their ice chest, it was like they had a heater and an infrared thing. So different kinds of experiences. But in terms of the actual going into the cold exposure itself, that initial powerful shock, I think, was a lot more potent in the ice chest, in the portal, in the really cold water, because it was so much colder. I mean, you really weren't going anywhere. It just took every ounce of your focus just to be present and to fight, because your instinct, right, is because it's painful and everything, your instinct is like, get out of this water right now. So you have to really shut the thinking mind off and just be fully present, go into the sensations, and realize that the cold is your friend in that moment and it's healing you. So in that, the just needing that intense amount of focus that it took was more intense. But being in nature, being in the lake, I mean, sure, the energy was a lot more potent. I was in my Pacarina, the feminine nature spirit of my emergence. In the Pakokuna tradition, for those of you that don't know, they say that when our soul enters our body, first it hits a guiding star, our Cheska, and then our Ituapu, the masculine nature spirit of our emergence. It could be like a mountain or a hilltop or something. And then it goes to a feminine nature spirit. Like for me, it's Lake Erie. And it's our Pacarina, and then it enters our parents' body, or our body, as we're coming out of our parents. And but so for me, so Lake Erie is a nature spirit, a nature being that I'm very deeply connected to. So every time I've ever gone swimming or spent time by or in or near Lake Erie, it's always very potent for me. So in that aspect, the energy was really powerful. But still, yeah, that portal was something else.
And that's something everybody can do, is kind of like a little homework assignment. I was born in Pittsburgh, and I actually went there with the intention, hey, I'm going to check out where is my Pacarina, and it turned out to be where the three rivers met. I was born in a hospital that's on, like, in between those three rivers, and it was like that center point. And that might be one reason why one of my gifts in this world is blending things and like really combining all kinds of different aspects of different modalities and all that, but they hold the blueprint for the perfected you. And if you match the Paco tradition with the Kabbalah, how the Kabbalah has the distillation down into the material, the blueprint for you to be able to be here is outside of this reality, and that's held by the Pacarina and the Ituapu. Your parents are just a genetic donation because they're in the right place at the right time for you to be where you need to be to get your imprint again and then reascend back up, because you have to forget who you are to remember who you are experientially here. It's kind of like the crux of how it works. It's way beyond words, but that's
right. And it's amazing. When you learn to enter into a dialogue with those nature beings and you learn to really connect with them, either individually or as a practitioner who's looking to help people. It's amazing the change that you can see in people just by connecting them to the energy of their Pacarina and their Ituapu, their masculine and feminine nature spirits. The healing that takes place is amazing. People experience powerful emotional shifts and things. And I remember it was actually a ceremony that you held before I was trained as a Paco, where you went through a little ceremony to connect us with, I think it was just the feminine nature spirit of our emergence, maybe both masculine and feminine.
I usually do both, but I focus on the Pacarina energetically a little bit more. But
so I remembered having this experience when you called in that energy. I was just laying in a room at the center, and then all of a sudden I felt energetically just this huge wave of like water come over me, and then I was like underwater, and I felt like I was being held like deep within Lake Erie, even though I was just lying there in that background that Hank just put up.
Yep, that's what I was bringing up. If you want to take a look, that's kind of what my setup looks like when I do these sound baths, and people will sit around the area, open with the traditional ceremony, and then really just kind of let the sound integrate and do the healing, and along with the spirits, of course. It's a combined effort, but it's a wonderful experience. I try to do a different theme every month, and I actually do have that scheduled now for up to only 8 people in person for March 26th. So if you are local,
Very cool.
and you want to have an experience, and that's what ironically, I hadn't mentioned it, but since we're in springtime and it's about that muhukoya, that seed of divine potential, the theme this month is all about connecting with the blueprint and activating that seed so you can start to flower and express your unique voice in this world. It's like a wonderful time to germinate that and to really start showing up for you, just as you, instead of what everybody think you should be or could be or could have been or should have been.
Yeah, and it's so cool to take advantage of the changing of the seasons and the different energies that they present. Like I remember when I was studying a little bit of qigong, we learned just about like the yin and yang seasons. So like summer is the yang season, and that was originally, I think, if I remember correctly, one of the oldest and like sort of where the origin of the terms yin and yang came from, was to describe the different types of days. So, if you had a day where it was really bright, sunny, and hot out, that was a very yang day. And if it was cloudy and dark and rainy, that was a very yin day. And neither is experienced as good or bad. They're both the beautiful part of nature, but they're just the way they describe that. And so but they go really deep into it. They break down all these different aspects of yin and yang, and so depending on the season, there are different things energetically that you can sort of start to take advantage of. And this is true not just in qigong, but in many shamanic cultures. And I know like a lot of like witchcraft practices, like Wiccan type practices and pagan practices as well, are especially really in tune with the changing of the seasons and taking advantage. You can do certain rituals if you're trying to manifest certain things. There are certain things you can do that are certain energies that are a little more advantageous to take it to work with during different times of the year. It's really fascinating.
And interestingly enough, a connection I just put together, the word in the tradition is Yanantin, and it's all about the relationships, like a man and a woman are a Yanantin relationship, night and day is a Yanantin relationship. So I wonder if the origins of that type of energy just developed through different filters in Peru versus in India. We have to compare notes and really like diving into that. And then the relationship between you and your sacred pair is all about, like your partner teaching you how to refine the divine feminine within, because we all have the divine masculine and feminine within us, and you help them to refine the divine masculine. And so that whatever the situation, you can look at it through the filters from the feminine or the masculine and be able to create with them a Taiwantan experience, which, because of the editing goes, this is what we were talking about on the social night yesterday. That's what came up because of a question Mary asked. It was so a wonderful thing. And it so ties in now to what we're talking about. It's like Spirit had a plan for that. Speaking of Mary's tuning in. Blessings. Thank you so much for tuning in. And out of Crystal Skull Note, Steve says he misses Max's skull. I have a whole bunch of skulls now. I don't have them in this picture, but I totally went off the deep end with skulls, and I have like 3 big lava rock ones and one for each section of the mesa. So I have a fair amount, and they're always at the concert. So if you want a little taste of Crystal Skull energy, it will definitely be there on the 26th. And I will do that virtually too. I'm going to do a live stream of it, 8 people in person and live streaming it. So you can also do a virtual ticket as well if you're not local, and just veg out on your couch while I do my thing.
Very cool. Yeah, another interesting kind of topic that I was just thinking about this morning was topic of like sight. And I know this is something for me when I was first learning to work with energy and work with the spirits. I so badly wanted to be able to see energy and see the spiritual beings around. Like I just felt like I was flying blind, and like if only I could see spirit, like it would just be the most incredible thing. And I would give anything in order to be able to see spirit. And someone was just messaging me this morning asking, our friend Mary was messaging me, and she was asking about, like, how do you see this? And like, I see these certain things, and I'm wondering, like, do you see like this and all that? And it was interesting because I can see energy in a lot of detail now. And it was funny when I stopped. I got to a certain point in my life. I remember actually thinking, it's fine. Like I have enough to focus on. I have enough that going on that like I don't need, like I'm perfectly fine. If I saw energy, that'd be great. But also like if I never did, then I wouldn't be worried about that. Like I'm perfectly fine the way I am. And when I had that and like no resistance to it either way, then I had an experience where I like kind of had my sight open up. But now I can see in a very, so I can see what people describe as like the aura, you know, the general energy field around people. If I tune into one layer, then I can go inside of that and I can see all the energy structure that makes up those layers of the aura. And then I can see all of the intricate lines that coalesce and come together to form that. And then I can look inside of that and see this complex geometric information, like this light code that forms like the fabric of all reality, and I can go through all these different layers, but I don't see that exactly as though I was seeing it through my physical eyes. In fact, it's almost like it's a mental image layered over the physical, but the line between the mental and the physical image is very much blurred at this point, where it's so real to me in the way that I feel it and the way that I see it, that I don't separate it as being like mental versus physical. It just is. I just know what I'm seeing. But there are a lot of people that get so caught up in their experience of energy, they want to be able to see a certain way or feel a certain way. I had another client the other night who was telling me, she goes, you know, people always talk about their gut instinct and they have a gut feeling about things. And she's like, you know, I feel like I'm sensitive to certain things, but I don't feel it in my gut. I get this tingly sensation in my head. And she's like, is that wrong? And I'm like, no, you know, that's just a common idiom. It's like a phrase. It doesn't really mean anything. There's no, like, wherever you feel it, whatever you feel and however you experience energy is exactly correct for you. So that was an interest. I don't know. I wanted to bring that topic up for some reason. Maybe you have something to add to that as well.
Well, it's not as timely anymore, unfortunately. I had a thing, but it went poof long ago.
Okay. But yeah, you know, and that's something I want to start to teach people is you can develop any of the senses as well. You know, even if you're a person who considers yourself to not really have any sensitivity to energy, if you train, if you practice, you can learn. You can start by learning to feel the sensations, the flows of energy through your body, and then start to feel it outside of yourself. You can take that, turn it into sight, and you can learn to hear energy, feel it, smell it. Anyone can develop all of their spiritual senses. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just energy flows where your attention goes. If you choose to develop it, it will develop. And just a clarification, because we just brought up a comment from a Mary, it was a different Mary than who commented. So
yes.
to be clear, so people aren't thinking it was this Mary. Let's see, do I have anything to contribute to that? Just, you know, I think that one of the gifts that people underestimate a lot and how I perceive things the most is you just know things. And for me, when vision started to occur, it was after I would just know things. So I would have an awareness of an entity being there. And I got validation from spirit because I started to see the subtle outline, the subtle energy field. And I give it the description of like if we're a drop of the ocean, that the source is the ocean, it's the water balloon skin that holds that as an individualization of source. So I was picking up on the water balloon skin, the subtle energy field that was the container for that to exist. So I would just see the outline of something like, oh, there's something there. And then I would just have a knowing. And then as I started to dive into it more, you would see more and more details or had the awarenesses. But it's a hard gift when it's just knowing, because you second guess it so much more because you're not seeing anything, you're not hearing anything, you're not feeling anything. You just know stuff and you go, well, how could I know? You need to know because you know.
Yeah.
And so it's real important. Don't compare however you receive information from the world to other people. Like if you don't see like Casey in that level of detail, you might just know what the equation is. Like I've been working on people and I've just seen equations flying through my head, and I know, okay, let's run that algorithm of healing, whatever that is. And you don't necessarily have to understand your gift to know that it's valid, and especially if you don't compare your gifts to other people. I guess is where I would go that. Oh, and she's known as Mary Lee. You're right, Mary Lee. Perfect. I will.
So interesting thing you brought up about seeing the equations go by, right? Because I was talking to someone who could see at one point, who could see in the level of detail that I could and see those geometric patterns and things. And they said if I wanted to, if I was so inclined, I could sit and break that down, and every one of those little individual fragments of those geometric patterns could be broken down into numbers, and then those numbers could be decoded, and you could figure out and manipulate the code.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's kind of like hacking a system, I guess, in a way. but spiritual was showing me that there's guardrails. Like you can do a lot of stuff, but there's like these things that from the level of awareness where you need to be able to be to manipulate that, you would never manipulate that from that level of awareness. So it's kind of like a safety rail, if you will. So you don't accidentally inject a code that does something that would derail all of creation or something like that.
Yeah, but like when we're sending out, like when we're doing manifestation, one of the techniques that I use for really bringing things about is I have my intent, I charge that with energy, and then I just boom, I send that out in like a pulse out, and I see it going out to like the furthest reaches of the universe. And so really, like, although I don't have any awareness of particular like light codes or anything that I'm sending out, like you're injecting information into the matrix of this reality, and then that comes back. It literally alters the reality around you. So just one of the interesting mechanisms, the ways that you can kind of interact with and experience manifestation in a more. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no! For a science part of that, science is catching up with us, and we might have talked about this way back on a stream. There's a neuroscientist who started to research access consciousness, and he was doing like topographical brain maps of people when they were getting a bar session. But right at the end of the video, and it's on the Emergency Being website, I think under the Access Clinic, I have a video there with the neuroscientist talking about it. I'll look it up after I'm done telling this and make sure to get the link out if people are interested. But right at the end of the video, he starts to talk about a secondary nervous system that rides the lymphatic system that have these bundles of ganglia nerve that come up in 7 places. And guess where these 7 places are?
They're not where the chakras are they?
They are where the chakras are. And what they were finding is when they would have people like hold an intention for a certain period of time, that these ganglia nerve interact with the outside environment, like pulling in energy and then exponentially sending back out to the universe, like tenfold the energy that was brought in. And he believed that they were starting to map the process of manifestation. So when you're saying you're like bursting out this energy, like you're focusing, you're doing your scripting, whatever, you're sending out this bolt of energy to create it. It's really mirroring what this neuroscientist was talking about with these ganglia nerve bundles that ride on the lymphatic system. So I'll find the link. I think it's on the Emergency website. But it's such a cool thing that science, what you described, there's actually scientific research that has supported exactly what you just said from a metaphysical standpoint.
And that's something I discovered on my own as a method for doing that so many years ago. It was just came intuitively to me. So it's amazing that I have that. We call those what does Zane always say? It says secondary independent reinforcer, right? So this guy discovered that, mapped that, and I on my own had this direct experience, and the way that I describe it is almost the same. So it's it's really amazing. It just goes to show that there is, before we beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is something actually very, very real. There's some fundamental law of nature behind that.
Yep. And I found it's on the Emergency Being website under Access Bar Clinic. It's the 3rd video down with how it works. And it's a discussion of the neuroscientist just showing how bars works, but just kind of go towards the end of the video and he starts talking about these ganglia nerve, and I'll put it up in a banner as well. But if you just go to the emergencybeing.com under experiences, bars clinic, that's the page that you need if you're listening to this on the podcast or just audioly. That's where you would go to find the video that we're referring to. How cool is that? Oh my gosh. I love when science backs it up.
Oh yeah, and it's I used to back in the day I was so scientifically minded before I had my awakening and everything. I was like, oh yeah, science and spirituality are they're just like such opposite things, but that's not true at all. Nowadays more and more science is we're starting to gain the tools to begin to explain, measure and see and experience these things that the ancient masters, the ancient shamans have known for millennia. And now science is just starting to catch up more and more, which is so cool.
That's one of my favorite classes to teach. I call it the science behind the sound, and how sound bridges from the scientific into the metaphysical. It's just such a great place to be. And Jennifer's tuning in. Hello, Pacos.
Hi, Jennifer.
So glad to tune in. And shout out to Anthony. I had sent him an invitation to come join us, but they were actually driving, so he wasn't able to come on. But I sent out the invitation for him to hop on the stream with us.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, so hopefully next time when he's not driving, we can have Anthony on and have a bit of a deeper dive into some of the the breathwork conversation and the cold exposure conversation, just to add, because I don't have that much experience around. I don't know if I'm going to. Like the most I got is like sitting in a hot sauna and rolling around in the snow. I don't know about getting in the lake.
Or the portal.
Yeah, but maybe you'll get me there. I mean, rolling around in the snow after being in a hot sauna is pretty crazy, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what? Anthony was telling me though when I was over there the other day that he's taken people who they hate the cold, they don't, they really are just averted to it, and he'll take them through, do the breath work beforehand, and they get in there and like instead of just jumping in and hopping out, like these people who hate the cold are sitting in the coldest water possible for like a full 3 minutes. And it really like surprises him when that happens. But like, we're all capable of so much more than we realize. And I look at that, especially the cold exposure, as being it's like exercise. It's exercise for the psyche. It's good for the body. There's so many benefits for the vascular system, for the lymphatic system, and all this stuff. But it's really exercise for your psyche, for your mind, for being present, and also just the fighting, because our instinct is to go into that shock type breathing and to really go into panic and everything when you hit water like that. And when you're able to use the conscious mind to be present and suppress that reaction and really be calm despite being in a situation where your body is like, we could die. There is real potency in that. And that gives you access to really deep parts of your brain. So at that point, you're actually starting to take control of your autonomic nervous system, right? This is something that was for so long thought to be really mostly out of our control. Autonomic, right? It's automatically happens. We don't have control over it. So when you hit cold water like that, that is 100% like you go into fight or flight mode. You go into the sympathetic nervous system. But you're able to, if you sit in there, you control just through controlling the breath, even, and then also your mindset. You're able to be in a parasympathetic state. You're able to be in relaxed, calm mindset, the rest and digest nervous system, while sitting there in a situation where your life is literally in danger.
Have you ever tried down in, I think, the Akron area, because I know the guy who I get my essential oils from Natural Options, he was going for these like it's a cold chamber, and I think they use like some liquid gas or something to like make it even colder than and it's like a really short exposure, but I guess they have really good benefits for different things. Have you ever tried that, or is that on your
cryotherapy?
I couldn't think of the name of it.
I've done it a couple times. Yeah. It's called cryotherapy. I've done it a couple times, and it's nowhere near as powerful as going in cold water. For me, there's just no comparison. I mean, the thing, like, you stand in there, and the really interesting thing is you never really feel all that. You really don't feel cold internally. It's just that your skin gets really prickly and tingly, so like your surface of your skin is like starting to freeze almost a little bit or something. But you don't really like internally feel cold because it's so short. You're in there for just like less than a minute or something like that. But in terms of the mental, physical, all those benefits, like, after I'm in a cold shower, or like I take a plunge like that in the cold, I feel all of these, like, just like all the feel good hormones possible, all these like endogenous cannabinoids and opioids and endorphins, like everything is flowing. I feel so good. And I've never gotten that from cryogenics.
And just a comment from someone that science and spirituality came together beautifully for them as a nurse. She got to dig a little deeper into a specific direction by listening to spirit to show doctors things that changed the patient's course of treatment. That is an amazing setting to be in, where you can navigate that, because so many times in traditional medicine, not everybody, but they're really treating the symptoms and not necessarily the causes, and taking the deep dive into the spiritual part is where those inner wounds are that might be manifesting physically. So it's a wonderful place to be a service, to be able to shift that for people. So important. And maybe by the end of summer, maybe you'll get me in that little cold chamber. We'll see. We'll have to film it, and then you can see me go all crazy. But I've been in cold situations before where I've regulated my body temperature just with energy. So I wonder, like, doing something like that. Is 3 minutes like the most people do? Is that like, is there a safety factor?
No, Anthony told me, and he just commented, what does he say? Water transfers heat 25 times faster than air, due to it being 800 times more dense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I can definitely feel that. Yeah, for sure. And so Anthony was telling me that in his in an ice bath, right? Not his portal thing that keeps ice as cold as physically possible, but in a regular ice bath, which I think he said gets to around like 50 degrees, and that's like water with a whole bunch of ice in it, right? He's gone up to, I think he said like half an hour or 50 minutes, something like that. Or maybe even longer. I can't remember. But in his portal thing, where again the water is 32 degrees, like it would be a solid chunk of ice probably if they didn't sit there and like break it up or whatever they do to keep it from totally freezing. But the longest he's gone in that is 12 minutes. He said 12 minutes in that, and for me, like 3 minutes was. Although I really feel like I could have probably gone for 5 or 6 minutes. It was the only thing is there's just that in the back of your mind. There's that fear of like, what if I lose my toes? You know? So that was the one. I'm just like, I should listen to the body, play it safe. My toes are really painful. I'm gonna get out. But other than that, I was at peace enough where like I felt like I could have been in there a lot longer. But in terms of what you need in order to really get the physical benefits of being in the cold, I think Anthony was telling me it's like 2 minutes is really all you actually need.
Yep. And Casey is a crazy shaman. None of this is recommended to try at home without some sort of doctor supervision. Just throwing out the little disclosure rather.
Oh, hop in your cold shower. It's good for you.
Yeah, cold shower, maybe one thing, but don't go making an ice chest doing this whole thing without supervision of some kind.
Yeah, especially if you're going in for extended periods of time, you really want to work up to that. Yeah.
And have somebody there, because in the unlikely event that you would have some sort of medical instance, it's good to have other people there. I'm sure that's why you asked me to go to the lake with you, to make sure you were safe. You weren't going to do that by yourself. You were going with your peeps to make sure you were safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I went to jump in Lake Erie in the middle of winter, I made sure I had people on top of the person who was jumping with me, we had one other person who wasn't going in the water, just in case something happened, because you never know. Your body can all of a sudden, if you're in there like a minute too long, you could lose feeling in your body and not be able to get out. And so not saying that happens often, but it has happened to people. So it's something you always have someone with there. If you're going to do that kind of thing, always have a spotter, someone to make sure you're safe.
And I'm sure Spirit wanted me to bring that up because we're going to have somebody watching this video that was already, masterminding a plan to create such a thing. So.
Yeah, sure. But it's amazing. Cold is a powerful teacher, man. It really is. And they've mapped this. Like Wim Hof is at the forefront of scientifically mapping what happens to the body and the brain when you learn to control the autonomic nervous system and your response to the cold and all of this. And when you suppress that, shock reaction, your shiver response and all of that, you actually gain access to the deepest, like, reptilian parts of your brain, those parts of your brain that create your endogenous opioids, cannabinoids, the endorphins, all of this stuff. You gain access to those parts of your brain that they thought were like the furthest from our conscious control. So it's really, really fascinating.
Just another example that really, in true awareness, you can control every aspect of your existence. Perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We are. We can do so much more. We're so much more powerful than we're taught. There's so many things we can do. Interesting example. I'll never forget this. I was talking to a friend at one point, and it was one of the first times I'd met him and spent time with him. And he's like, yeah, there are so many things, like, just physiologically with our bodies that we were never taught we're able to do. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, one example is the voice. He said, most people don't know you're able to sing with a different part of your throat. You're able to talk and sing with a different part of your throat than your vocal cords. I said, what do you mean? So he does this.
Before you give the example.
Too late. But
I know. I was going to say, turn your volume down if you're listening, so it doesn't blow you out if you're on
that right there, right? So that sound, that deep, that even a woman can make a sound like that deep. It has nothing to do. It's not. I don't just have a crazy deep voice. I'm actually singing with my larynx, a different part of the throat, a part of our throat that normally doesn't play much of a role in our speaking.
Yep. That's where like the monks that levitate rocks and things, they're having that resonance chamber effect from using that, I believe. That's where they are creating the different sound interactions to do the things that they do with their voice.
Yeah, and powerful healing energy comes through in that too. When I am doing shamanic healing for people, and I start to do throat, this is called throat singing. Is a generic term for it. Then people experience really powerful energy coming through. It really breaks things up.
So it's like being a human didgeridoo.
Yeah, it really does. It feels like playing a didgeridoo with my throat. And then the really fascinating thing about that, I don't know if I'll be able to pick it up on camera. Tell me if you can hear it. I'm going to try this. But you can sing 2 notes at the same time. So you get the do, and then on top of that, you get this overtone from making like a resonant chamber in your mouth. You get this really high pitched tone. I don't know if the microphone will pick it up, but see if you can hear this overtone kind of moving a little bit. I don't know if the microphone could pick that up.
I think I got it. Is it the kind of like the little wah-wah sound that goes up higher?
It's really high pitched. It's almost like a little whistling or something that you hear. I don't know if the microphone picks that up.
You'll have to listen and see if you hear it for yourself. I don't know if I've heard it and if it's really what you're referring to or not.
Yeah, but there's this overtone that it's really, if you have a good microphone or you're in person and you hear it, you hear these 2 different notes going at the same time. I think she must have heard it, whoever that is. She or he.
Casey's been doing that for a long time.
Who is Facebook user? Do we know who Facebook user is?
No, that they're commenting in a group and they didn't click the little thing for StreamYard. No, but we can go back afterwards and find out who it is. But okay. A mysterious Facebook user going, WTF, Casey? He even fooled people at a concert. I remember you helped me with the concert and people thought I was playing a dish, but it was you.
Yeah.
You were doing it. It was like that authentic to a dish. And better that I haven't mastered the dish yet. I'm still working with it. And she says, she's Mary. So this is the site Mary that we were talking about before.
Yeah. Yeah, Mary, you'll have to hear that in person when I really am able to get the overtones.
We should do it on one of our hikes and freak out the other hikers.
I know, I saw that error message that just came up.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know what that is. We're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook's end. You guys still see us on Facebook? Make a comment.
Well, that is that's specific to my page, actually. So I don't know what that's.
Okay.
But I'll hop over there and just check it out. I'm not sure. That's weird.
Interesting. No, I've done that while hiking though, and you can hear it. It reverberates quite a long distance. So I'm sure I've freaked out a few people.
You killed the stream on my page. It's like it ended at the 42-minute mark. It's like I'm out. I can't handle this case.
Too much energy.
Yeah, yes, we see you, but I know this is one of the groups. Every place else was fine. It's just to the Sonic Shaman page, for whatever reason, these streams stopped. It's very interesting. What entities are at play here? Pod and pock them.
For real.
Any questions from you guys? We've been kind of just flowing with some randomness, which is always wonderful. We love the random conversations and the flow of them. But if you have questions, comments, even if it's calling crazy, WTF Casey or crazy, we honor we honor all of your contributions and love to direct the conversation where you'd like to go. So let's see. Laugh out loud. I missed y'all talking about me. I've been with Casey throat singing while hiking. That was a different energy sound than what I'm used to. And you're hearing like a microphone and everything, but Casey does have a good microphone. But in person, things are just different because the harmonic interaction in the body and everything is different. You're getting the sound only from one way when you're listening just from a computer. And in person, it's bouncing off of things, hitting you again, creating nodes and still points and all kinds of other stuff that goes on when you can be in person with something like that.
Yeah, and that's one. I still haven't mastered the overtones. Like I can do them, but the real like tube and throat singers that are really spent their lives mastering that, it's amazing. They can just get that overtone to come in. It doesn't even sound real. When you look at them and you're listening to it, it sounds like you're like, oh, there's like a weird sound effect or like a distortion in the audio or something, but it's actually an organic sound that they're making with their mouth. It's so fascinating. So if anyone's interested in that, just go on YouTube and type in Tuvan, Tuvan, throat singing, and there's all kinds of videos, and it's so fascinating to listen to. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, we got to have Casey teach us a throat singing class so we can go out on the Buckeye Trail and freak out some people.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, anyone, male, female, and anyone can sing like that. It's because it's not, you're not singing with your vocal cords. It's you're singing with your larynx, whole different part of your throat. And you know how they found that out? Well, they actually went in to people doing tube and throat singing. They stuck these cameras down their nasal cavity and down their throat, and then were filmed and had a camera going down and looking at their larynx vibrating as they were doing that. That's how they figured out that you're singing with a different part of the throat when you're doing throat singing.
It doesn't sound too comfortable, but
no, not at all. But thanks to that, we know that now.
I would have been good with my knowing and not needing to justify someone else's desire to know more. I don't know.
Well, thank the gods for whoever did that for us.
Thank you, Spur. Cool. Oh, and now that summer's coming up, for those of you that are local, a reminder, we have the meetup, Stir Crazy Shamans meetup, and we will start to plan like days where we'll go out to the lake or to a hike or whatever, where it's just kind of a meetup to get together and at some point do a little ceremony or something along the way. So if you're interested in that, I'll post a link for it, but you can join a meetup, and that's where all like the in-person notifications when we're going to do something go out. If you happen to be local in the Cleveland area or passing through, if you're passing through, let us know. Maybe we can plan something when you're coming through, and then we can just intentionally make sure something's going on. If you have,
yeah, we had a meetup or one or two meetups last year, and oh my gosh, we had some beautiful experiences, healings and just sharing of ceremony and energy. It was really beautiful. So I definitely want to do more of those this year. We'll create that, and we're going to have a good time. So if you're in the area, you can be present for one of those. Yeah, so much incredible energy, because it's amazing. We can learn a lot. We can grow so much on our own, just through our own direct experience of spirit. But when we come together and we share our energy, we share our vibration in our space, that's when we really up level. That's when we really grow, is in coming together and sharing. So yeah, so great when we can get together in groups like that.
Yep. And I posted the link if you're listening on the podcast. It's meetup.com/stir-crazy-shamans. And that's how you can find us on Meetup and join there as well. And speaking of the podcast, if you want to take us, like I know the other day, like someone went on and literally downloaded every single episode that we had on the podcast channel, which is like 76 that are all available there. But you can go to iHeartRadio or iTunes and you can download them all, leave a review, all helps us out. So you can take us to go. You don't have to watch us. You can just listen to us. And that's a great way to support us as well. But of course, YouTube is our preferred place for you to interact with us. But if you have to take us on the go, podcasts are very convenient.
Yeah. And speaking of the YouTube channel being our preferred place, subscribe if you have not done so already. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Shamans Way is mine. I have all kinds of wonderful healing demonstrations. I do live stream healings and all kinds of fun stuff over there.
Yep. And mine is the Sonic Shaman and also Emergence of Being. And if you go to emergenceofbeing.com under live streams, it has a link there for every single contributor, including Casey, myself, Dr. K, all the people who make content. All the links are all there to their YouTube channel. So that's one place you can go to find everything that we're doing. So it's always a good place to centralize it to.
Very cool. Well, that seems like kind of a cool wrapping it up type energy. We've been going for about 50 minutes almost.
Yeah, and I have yet another stream at 12:35, so it'll give me a chance to take care of the body. And
there you go.
I'll be back. I forget what I'm doing now, but I know I have Bridget on. I think we're doing the body, mind, spirit approach to healing or overcoming illness through mindset. I forget which one, but I'm going to be on at 12:35 talking about one of those topics with Bridget, who's an amazing presenter. So I'm looking forward to that interview.
Very cool. Well, you enjoy that. I'm going to go. I need to find food.
Well, you're in a day and age where that fortunately is very easy.
It is like I don't have to go out and you know, kill an animal or like forage through the forest to try and find edibles.
Just forage through the grocery store.
Yeah, that's very easy. So
Well, awesome. Well, until next time, everyone, we will catch you next Friday or sooner. There's nothing that says we might not hop on randomly and do one that's not planned for Friday. So the only way you'll know if we're going to do a random one is if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So please do that.
and hit that notification bell.
Yes, that, and share the content. Share the content. Help spread the contagion of consciousness. It's always appreciated, and it's a great contribution to us.
Thank you, everyone. Have an absolutely magical day. A Nike, a Nike, a Nike.
Pichai Sonkolai. Bye, everyone.